Welcome back to Dudes Talking Manga. I am one of the hosts, Jimmy Nuts, and then I'm also accompanied by the other co-host on this channel, less seen but should be as well known, and that is Andrew Cashew, also just known as Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing fair. I'm
All
excited
right.
to talk One Piece. So
Yeah, One Piece always gets me excited, lifts my moods just a little bit. And today, folks, we are talking about the end of the East Blue Saga, and maybe in its entirety a little bit at the end, but mostly we're going to be focusing on Arlong Park and Logtown, which Andrew has finally, after months and months and months, finally have read it. And as someone who is all the way up to about to start post Ennies, I just can't imagine how long it will take him to read some of these 100 chapter arcs. I imagine in 10 years you'll probably be a post Ennies at this point.
probably I'll be in the retirement home talking about it. Probably.
Do you think you could pick up the pace a little bit, or like?
I mean, I probably can. You got to quit giving me book stuff to read too.
Well, One Piece certainly should be the priority for you.
Well, it has been. Well, actually, I know it has definitely been the priority in my closet. I think we got warned on one of the first videos we did that it's going to overtake everything you have, and it's overtaking the shelves. It's overtaking the closet. Got the swag. I mean, and it's the best when you wear one of the shirts out, man. Just sometimes you get like yelled at by like 7, 8 year olds, but it's still a pretty cool thing whenever you get it. Just opens you up for great conversations with people. It's a lot of fun.
Certainly. I mean, we before we jump in the Arlong Park and talk about it, we did go to the Ren Fair together last weekend, and Andrew wore a Luffy shirt, and no less than like 10 teenagers talked to him, and we're very excited that he had a Monkey D. Luffy shirt on. So
now there was
fandoms out there.
Luffy was there. We should have got a picture with Luffy.
There was a man dressed up as Luffy, but I don't believe he was the Pirate King. I didn't buy it.
I wasn't buying it either.
Not Pirate King energy.
No. Looks kind of like he might have stolen his grandmother's sun hat from the
that's
working out in the garden.
That's kind of what it looks like. I think I would make a decent Luffy. I think
you could. Off. Yeah, 100%.
Just need to do a couple crunches, maybe get on a little cut and
a little scar.
A little scar. Yeah, I think I can.
Yeah, I don't have anyone. Maybe like Captain Smoker, maybe. If I'm lucky.
I could see you being Alvida.
Well, which version?
Both.
I'll take that. I'll take
commitment to the role, bro.
I mean, I'll take that.
Commitment to the role. All right. So you've read Arlong Park. You've finished Logtown. Let's start with Arlong Park. What did you think about this arc? Because when we talked about Brodier, you were pretty high.
I was
Brodier. You loved it. The Sanji backstory, of course, was fantastic. But how did you find Arlong Park?
I absolutely loved Arlong Park, and I keep saying this, which I mean, I don't know if I'm ever going to stop saying this, but it just keeps getting better. And I mean, you get so much backstory in Arlong Park. So for me, I have really tried very hard not to look forward or like see any spoilers or see what's going on. So I had absolutely no idea what was going to happen. And I got to say, I was here for the Fishmen. That was so fun. The concept of it, how they played with it, the powers, the battles. I mean, we got so much backstory on Nami, just so action-packed, and man, it was fun. It was a absolute blast. Such a pleasure to read it, man.
Well, it's really great that you remember there was fishmen, because I forgot, and there's fishmen later on. I don't think that's a spoiler, but there were some fishmen, and I was like, whoa, Oda's just subtly dropping that there's other species and races, and people are like, hey, idiot, there was one in Arlong. How did you forget that? It's like, well, guys, it's like, I'm at chapter like 400 something. Like, of course I forgot. So don't forget, or people will be upset with
you.
All
right, but noted.
The Fishmen, pretty cool, right?
Very cool concept. I really enjoyed that. And the fact too that we had, the octopus, the like kiss fish, and just playing with those. I love how we use all these different powers too, because just it makes the battle so much more interesting. Because you're not facing the same kind of foes. We had the cats last time, the black cat pirates. And this time we have, the play with the animals is just magnificent. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I've been saying repeatedly in all my vlogs that no one does wildlife better than Oda.
Yeah. And I still love the fact too, I was one of those little experts in the book when he talks about how they're like, oh, you must really love animals. He's like, I guess. He's like, I don't like them any better than anyone else. And for him to write them so well, I mean, God help us when he writes something he actually likes. I mean, blow our brains out. You know what I mean? Like just
It seems to like bosoms.
yeah.
That's something
I mean,
that
Almeida is fine now, man. I'm gonna say.
yeah. All right. More
You disagree?
Alvida kind of guy, huh?
I mean,
Once she got on the
sturdy.
Atkins, you were down the
Yeah,
clown.
you little bee pollen, whatever.
You see what I did there down the clown because Buggy. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there. I
How
see
about
what you
Buggy? Buggy.
yeah.
Well, this is Logtown. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we'll get to that in a bit. Let's stick with Arlong Park for now. So you met the Fishmen. You thought they
Mhm.
were pretty neat. I do think that the battle between the Straw Hats and the Fishmen is the best battle to this point in the series where you're at.
Okay. So
There's
not
a
to the point where you're at, you mean? Just talking forward.
oh yeah, there's way better stuff out once. Trust me, you
Really?
haven't even sniffed peak One Piece yet. I'm
Oh,
saying that as someone who also probably hasn't experienced peak One Piece, but I can only tell you that like I just finished Enies Lobby, and it's literally one of my favorite like stories I've read. Like it is
I mean,
so good.
it's
It's
such a
hard to believe how good it is.
really.
I
Well,
loved it.
I mean, I'm already loving it so much. And I mean, we got to see another Luffy power with the Gum Gum Net, which was
Mm.
fantastic. You remember that part of it where he used it to catch Arlong with his Go Go Net? Or not Go Go,
Yes.
Gum Gum Net. Yeah, it's Go Go.
Yeah. The Gomu Gomu net.
Yeah.
I think it's Gomu Gomu. Someone can
Gomu Gomu.
correct me in the comments, but yeah. But to this point, I think this is the coolest fight, and there is some sort of tension between humans and the fishmen. Like,
Mhm.
there's clearly some like racial tension there. At least that's how I picked up whenever I read it the first time.
Yeah.
Looking back at my notes,
Saying that like they're kind of the superior race. And also, lost what I was going to say there. I had a good point. It's a really, really good point. But so yeah, for this battle, also, not only was it so action packed, but like for me, and like just going like where I'm at in the reading, this has been the first time where the stakes are so high, right? For a battle.
yeah, for
For me.
sure, yeah.
I mean, before, I mean, you're fighting for Nami, and I mean, Arlong's pretty OP. The villains keep getting more and more like,
That will continue.
yeah.
Yes, very DBZ, shonen
Oh,
anime manga style. We're going to just keep leveling up. Well, you know what the thing is? The stakes get raised because at this point we have pretty much just fought to get someone to the crew, right?
yeah,
Fight, Sanji comes. They fight, they picked up Zoro. They
yeah.
fought, they picked up Usopp. But this time, at the end of Baratier, we think that Nami has ran off. We think that she has betrayed us, and we think all these negative things about Nami. But it turns out that she has this whole situation over here. So now we are fighting for our crewmate to get them back, essentially.
Mhm.
So I think it's the first time the personal stakes feel really heavy because we've already had time with Nami. And then
Yes.
her backstory is insane.
Oh, absolutely insane. And two, the back and forth with what you just were talking about. I mean, what an emotional ride. Like, what is Nami doing? Does she actually want to be a part of it or
Mhm.
be a part of the crew? Or is Luffy just true Luffy fashion, just hearing what he wants to hear and now you're gonna be a part of the crew. Until we get to one of the most epic parts. I mean, I don't know. So you're saying stuff gets better, but like how do you get any better than the hat on Nami?
Oh, I mean, the hat
I mean,
on
like,
Nami
come on,
is one of the most iconic things I've read thus far, still to this
come
point.
on. And then the
But
epic walk away to start the battle. Like, oh,
did you watch the anime? Did you watch the anime walk?
I did. I did watch it afterwards.
Bro,
So
the music. Let's go.
I
It's
mean,
so good.
perfect.
Yeah.
Absolute perfection.
Yeah, one of the best things. Apparently, I haven't finished live action because there's some spoiler stuff that apparently people are just saying just catch up on the entire
Really?
manga, then watch it.
Okay,
Yeah,
then
because
I
there's some spoiler stuff in there. They
uh,
move stuff up, but I've
oh,
heard that the Nami hat moment is incredible as well in the live action, which
so
is
it is
really
in the live.
encouraging.
Yeah, I wouldn't see how you would be able to cut that out. I mean, that's
No,
just
it's too important. And I mean, that is Arlong Park to me. Like, that
yes,
is the moment that stands. Actually, that's East Blue Saga to me. That is the moment in
yeah,
East Blue Saga that stands out as like, okay, maybe this is something I'm going to love.
yeah. I mean, that is the punctuation for it all, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that and then the sea cow, of course. The sea.
Oh, the sea cow was fantastic. The sea cow was great.
I laughed so hard at that.
And we're not talking about Alvida.
No,
prior
we're
to-
not. We're talking about the sea cow monster. And then them riding that was such a fun time. Oh my gosh, that was literally like one of the. I openly was belly laughing when it popped up.
I mean, here's the crazy thing. We're seeing, we've seen some sea kings out there. We see the
Yeah.
sea cow and everything, but like we're not even on the Grand Line yet.
No,
And
we
the
aren't.
Grand Line's a lot more dangerous than anything we've seen thus far. And I would say it's been pretty treacherous waters out there.
It has, and
Mhm.
really too. Like we get a part of seeing how bad the Marines actually are, or at least some of them. We get a glimpse of that,
We do. We absolutely do.
and to
And
see. Oh, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, and the government in which they work for, right?
Yes, and to see too, like, hey, maybe there's going to be you always a big fan of the politics and stuff. That is going to be very interesting to see how all that goes into play.
Mm.
Who works for them, who doesn't. Do you have to kind of play a ball to actually be a pirate that has a bounty on your head so you don't get caught? And also, Luffy gets his bounty, and finally, he was so excited about.
Yes, some pretty big major world things happening that our
Yes.
crew is now kind of they're known by at least some people in the world, which
Mhm.
is really big. Um, you're on to some really good stuff there. That's all I can really say. I think
All
you're
right.
paying attention to the right things, and we even get a little bit of a hint towards the 7 warlords of the sea. Did you catch that piece?
7 Warlords of the Sea.
Yes,
I
it's
think that might have.
briefly mentioned.
Okay, no, then I did not. Typically, if it's briefly mentioned, if there's a brief picture, I think I'm going to grab it. But if it's mentioned, no.
Yeah,
So
so
maybe I need to go back.
Yasaku is the one that mentions it, and he talks about the 7 pirates hired by the world government, the 7
Mhm.
warlords of the sea, and this is where he's also talking about Mihawk,
Yeah.
potentially. So we're getting this idea that there's some power structures and people that are hired by the governments, and what's the role and how far is that leash. So that kind of plays into what you were talking about, though,
Mhm.
with the politics. Who's good? Who has to play ball? Do you have to be fully aboard to work for the government? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? But I think that those are really good things to pick up on.
Yeah. Well, and this world just keeps building and building. The layers just keep getting thicker, and I love it. It's so
Yeah,
much fun.
it is.
And I also too, I love how we keep switching the, I guess you want to call it the story within the story that's at the beginning of each one of the chapters. Now, so we have
Mhm.
Kobe and Helmeppo, and we saw Axe Hand Morgan back. I might
Oh,
be
we
getting ahead of
loved
myself.
Axan Morgan. We were big fans of Axan
Yeah, I
Morgan.
was like, man, he is way too cool to not be in this more.
Yeah,
And I was not disappointed to see him back. And
yeah.
Helmeppo, man, what a just clown.
An absolute boob of
Like
a person.
just a grade A bozo.
I want to bring it back to Nami a little bit here because we
Yes,
talked about
yes,
the
you can.
hat moment, but we should talk about how we got to the hat moment. So, what were you thinking about Nami's backstory with Belmare? And then obviously she also has her foster stepsister who lived underneath Belmare, which her name was Nojiko. Is that right?
I believe that's it.
Yeah. So what did you make of this backstory? Because I know when we left off in the Brodier, I was like, "What do you think about Nami?" And you're like, "Can't stand it. I don't know why she would do that to the crew. Can't
Yeah.
trust her." And
Well, we get a
now
lot
we're
of
seeing
we
why.
get sure, we get a lot of explanation.
Mhm.
And I think that I was here for it for sure. I really enjoyed the fact that we did kind of see back behind. 'Cause honestly, for some reason, I just didn't think we were going to get as much about Nami this early. So
Mhm.
that for me was a complete. I didn't expect it at all. I thought that she was going to end up double crossing Arlong at some point, but not anytime soon. She had that tattoo. She's committed. She's trying to pay off her debt to be able to free the whole town. And also, man, the town just getting behind her.
That's what I was going to go into next.
Oh,
The town
man.
building that Oda does here is strong,
Oh, it
very very
really,
strong.
really. If you got Genzo in there too, but sorry, I'm getting away from the backstory of her. Um, Man, that was just a really great look. And now you understand Nami a lot more. I mean, so for me, you just have a deeper appreciation for why she did what she did. And just to see the struggle that she went through to be where she's at, to perfect making all these maps, and then to see where her goals were derived from. It was a really, like, that was an emotional part for me, man. That was just really, really something special to get to see, what she's really the best at making maps. And it's sad how she got there, basically being chained in a room and made to make these maps. But she's there, and now she's kind of made the best out of that situation, right?
Yeah.
She's been pushed down, beat down, basically as a map slave for Arlong. But then she turned it around, like, you know what, man? I have learned these skills, and I'm gonna make them mine. And for me, that was super powerful, and that was really an awesome thing to see. I really, really enjoyed that. That was probably for me that you said the moment of her getting the hat. For me, that was like the moment, like, oh man, this isn't just a fun swashbuckling, good
Yeah.
time. There's some depth to this. There's some human emotion and element to it, and that was just, man, that was really awesome.
Yeah, and it all leads into the pinwheel scene at the very end when she's running away, and it's
Wow.
like, oh man, the pinwheel shot. Tear you up.
It did.
Make
I mean,
you use
that
a
whole
few
thing,
Kleenexes.
man.
It's
Yeah.
it's very emotional, and what just a beautiful way of wrapping things up. There's one thing
Sure.
that Oda I think is just, I mean, there's plenty of things I think Oda is great at, but I love the way he like brings things back around
Mhm.
and connects. And some of these, when you get into some of these longer sagas, you'll forget about the beginning and then be reminded by the end of it, which is
Yeah.
really special. But I just thought that the pinwheel panel is still one of the most powerful panels. Genzo's pinwheel on
Yeah.
Belmare's grave is just like, oh, and
Oh,
Genzo, I mean, the sheriff, what a great side character, in my
awesome.
opinion.
Yes. And just his look, and then him and Nami say, or no, it wasn't Nami, was it? No, it was her sister just saving whenever Luffy gets I think concreted in and thrown to the bottom, and he just stretches his neck out to be able to get mouth to mouth. What
Yes,
a brilliant way.
yes, that's my favorite part of the fight, actually.
Really?
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite part of the fight. It's so funny.
It's like it was, and I think too is just perfectly balanced too. Like the amount of time that was in it, I feel like there could have been a real easy way to like overdo that, and it was just, I think it was just enough. Like all of it was just enough. That's what I think Oda does such a phenomenal job of doing, because I mean you got a fine line when you're doing like dealing with like goofy characters. I feel like to just overstep and it's just to be okay, like that's enough. But man, I haven't had any of that throughout this whole series, because I
Oh,
mean, you pick
whenever
these up, you look at them, you're like, man, this is goofy. Like, what is this? And it's just so much more than that.
Yeah, there's a lot packed between the pages,
Mhm.
and maybe a really good example of that from the Luffy perspective. Obviously, the pinwheel and the hat are major, but during this fight, which some funny stuff's happening, very
Mhm.
inventive stuff, creative stuff. He comes up from the wreckage when everyone thinks he's dead, and he's like, "Nami, you're my friend."
Oh,
And it's like that is a Luffy in a nutshell. If you are
yeah.
his friend, aka on his crew,
Mhm.
he will go to bat for you. He will go
Yeah.
through hell and high water and defend you like no one else's business. And that is a consistent trait of Luffy that I think anyone can find to be admirable. Like everybody loves someone who's loyal.
Yes.
Loyalty is the best.
Oh, yeah. And loyalty when people don't necessarily deserve the loyalty, right? I mean, just to the bitter end. And
Yeah.
really, Nami has done the opposite of giving him any reason to be loyal, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, he's having a lot of compassion for her, and
Mhm.
he's in her town and learning these things and seeing these people, and then seeing what Arlong has done to her and her family, her adopted family, foster family. And it takes, even though Luffy is silly and brash and at times dumb, he is certainly intelligent enough to see these backstories and start reasoning how people are. And he really, I think, sees Nami through like the most charitable lens possible.
Mhm. No, that's a very good point. Man, I got so nervous whenever Sanjay jumps in the water to try to save Luffy, and the stingray fishman jumps in there. I was like, "Oh no, man, you're in where you shouldn't be. You're in his house now." And I thought he's going to get a lot more hurt than he did.
Hey, when I see a stingray, I just think Steve Irwin, God rest his soul.
I mean, if he can take Steve.
I'm gonna finger this stingray here. Like what?
Stick my head in a
What?
beehive. Like,
What was that,
oh,
Stevie?
oh, big rip, Steve
Rip.
Irwin.
Rest
Oh,
in peace.
Still remember where I was at when Steve Irwin found out the news. It's at camp.
We were at church camp. I remember that.
Church camp on the old tetherball court. No, not
Probably
really.
talking about Dragon Ball Z.
Probably rocking a Dragon Ball Z button-down shirt, more than likely.
So Sanji did not turn into Steve Irwin, which was nice. What did you make of Sanji? What did you think of the crew members other than Luffy in the fight? Because like Usopp's doing his thing, which is very Usopp-like. But you have Sanji, and then obviously you also have Zoro.
Mm-hmm. I think it was Zoro. Correct me. It was either Zoro or Sanji. It was so like the battle was happening at one point, and Arlong was looking for, they were trying to like, oh, let's find these invaders. And then the octopus dude, I can't remember what his name is, but he gives them a ride. And he's like, oh yeah, we got some intruders here. And he gives them a ride over. They're like, that's who we were. I think it was Zoro. Like, that's who we were looking for. And he's like, oh no, I did it again. Like, it was so silly. I loved it.
Yeah, some good stuff. Usopp, if I'm not mistaken, is this the fight where he's running around?
Yeah, like the whole time. Well, yeah, you said, like, what is he doing? I was like, I don't really remember him doing much. I remember him like creating some of his specialty eggs and stuff to shoot at people, but really, I mean, he was just like training for the Olympics, maybe. I don't know what he was doing. He was literally just running back and forth all over the place.
My man, Usopp,
you
track star. Usain Usopp.
That's
my
it,
dude, man. That's my dude.
That's pretty much what he did the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Luffy like using his teeth to bite the sword. Like what? That battle was so much fun. And that sword, when Arlong got that Saw sword out, I was like, oh man, we're gonna be in some trouble here. But that kind of peels back a layer too of what I think you were talking about it before, of the different kinds of swords that have powers. So we see a little bit more of that, and then we see some more in Loguetown too. But man, I want to learn more about what's going on with these powered swords, and also Hawkeye. Hawkeye, right?
Yeah,
yes.
Mihawk.
That's right. Has one as well. So maybe they're given out by the government. I don't know.
That's actually a really good theory. I kind of like that. Yeah, swords have names and seem to have properties, which I find to be fascinating, because who doesn't love a good old special sword? I mean, that's like one of my favorite things in any medium. So, yeah, Arlong Park, great fight, big emotional moments, and I was super excited to see where Nami ended up, knowing that after our last chat, it's like, you leave off on that big cliffhanger of like Nami's betrayed us.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like towards the end of it, one of the most things, talk about the balance again of the funny and the emotional, of when Genzo is like pouring one out for Nami's mom, Belmar.
Okay. I said Belmar. It might be Belmar.
Okay, Belmar, whatever. Okay, her stepmom. When he's pouring one out and like, oh, it's such an emotional time. And then here comes Luffy just eating. He has 10 of those like chicken leg things, which, by the way, I got the cookbook, the One Piece cookbook, and those chicken things are in there.
Let's go.
Yeah. So
that'll be our next non-manga reading video. Yes. That'll bomb.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to do it, put a lot of effort into it, and it's going to bomb.
Yeah. By the way, if y'all are watching this and you like hearing us talk, we taste tested a bunch of One Piece soft drinks, and it's here on the channel, and y'all should watch it. We worked really hard on it and got sick from it, and the people who did watch it, the couple thousand people who did watch it, loved it. And we had really encouraging comments like, do it again. And I'm like,
well, so I sent it to a couple people that aren't in the One Piece community or manga community, and they all absolutely loved it. So maybe that was what the reach was for. I don't know, but I had a lot of fun making it. I think you did too. So I'd love for you guys to watch it, because we had a lot of fun making it.
Hey, and if that video has a resurgence, maybe we'll do the One Piece cookbook. That could be a lot of fun.
Which I think I'm going to do the One Piece cookbook for myself, even if it's just like an hour-long video of me just like just eating chicken that I made.
Dude, you know what I just bought? I bought the One Piece coloring book because.
Did you?
Yeah, I just released. It's pretty sweet.
That's fantastic. I'm excited to see that. It's something nice about a coloring book.
I bought it and then went, oh yeah, I don't own any crayons or colored
Get
pencils.
Some colored pencils.
I know, but like I just forgot that.
I mean, I guess why? Yeah,
the coloring.
I mean, I've done the coloring book on the iPad. It's pretty nice and relaxing as well.
Oh, it's so
Um,
21st century of you. So, Arlong was great,
yes,
loved it, and then we
yeah.
move on to Logtown, which is very short, which is why I said let's just
Mhm.
go ahead and read that, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about it all. So, what did you make of Logtown? Because there's a
I
lot of stuff. It's short, but there's a lot of stuff
It was
packed.
action packed. I did want to touch on one more thing real quick. I thought too it was absolutely brilliant at the end when everyone's like, "Oh, Nami gave us this money. It's so nice of her." But then in true Nami fashion, she just pickpockets them all on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Okay.
Keeping that character trait
Yes.
consistent.
It's very true to who she is.
And a lot of what we're doing here is subverting what a pirate is. I mean, that's
Mhm.
really what, like, when you hear pirates, you think bad guys for the most part.
Yeah.
But we're seeing that a crew that might have pirate tendencies also can have a heart of gold. And I think Oda set out to probably subvert some of those things. And Luffy is now as well.
Yes. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So we see at the beginning too, Axe Hand Morgan on the story before the story. I'm here for it. But for me, Shanks is in the house.
Remind me about the Shanks stuff
Okay,
because I'm a little
so
fuzzy.
all right, so got his name wrong, not Hawkeye. Mihawk.
Mihawk.
Yes, you
Yes.
want to call him Hawkeye. Okay,
It's
anyway.
okay.
So Mihawk goes to an island. And so I did want to say I don't have it up, but we should probably I want you to like look back at it when they are in the cave. So we went to it just says a miscellaneous island or something like that. And Mihawk goes to visit it, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not here for you guys." Like they give him a little riff coming into this cave. And you're like, "Man, who is this gonna be?" Because I had no idea who it was gonna be. And then we see Shanks. He's like, "Hey, this guy, this reminds me a lot of the person that you talked about when you were young. Like he was younger, and he slaps down the wanted poster for Luffy, and then it shows Shanks, and he's like." Basically, yeah, he's made it. But they leave a little bit to the imagination there too. I know Shanks said, "Hey, bring me my hat back," but I just for me, I got mixed feelings about it. I got like he's happy, but he's kind of like, okay, like you're gonna have to earn your stripes, but also maybe I'm gonna collect your bounty. I don't know. I got that's what I got from it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
I need to look at the panels again to see if I have that same interpretation.
yeah.
I remember what I do remember about that moment is whenever it shows it, I was like, it's gonna be Shanks.
Really?
Yeah, because we're at the end of it, and he was at the very beginning, and I could tell it during the arcs, like what Oda was doing. Oda did a lot of circular come back to the beginning type things. So
Hmm.
at the end of East Blue, I was like, well, what can I expect from this? I was like, I imagine we're gonna get at least a hint of Shanks here, and we do.
Yeah. Well, when he said because he said something too about like a one-handed or one-armed something, and I thought it was going to be Axe Hand Morgan.
Ah.
So see, that's where it threw me off a little bit. I mean, I was
Mm.
definitely happy to see him. I think it said certain island somewhere is what it was, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. But it was a cool. I liked Logtown a lot. Like you said it really well. It is very action packed, and I think too because it's so confined, so much could happen so quickly.
Yes,
Do you
definitely.
think? And you might know the answer to this from reading on, but oh man, I can't remember her name. The girl that Zoro used to train with.
Oh, I do not remember her name right now.
I
But
think that that's who he ran into.
you think Tashigi is her?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought
No?
that as well. No, I thought
Oh,
that
okay.
as well. But I don't I don't know if I still feel that way.
All right.
And that's not because I have any more information on it, by the
It's
way.
just like kind of
Just a
came and went.
yeah, just a vibe.
Yeah.
It feels like she's so important to Zoro that I just don't see how it could be her. Like without
Yeah.
him realizing it. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Yeah, because they
Uh
did spend so much time. I mean, fairly intimate when you're fighting with swords. I mean, it's basically like in each other's face. Yeah, that's a good point. He probably would, even that far gone and that far away, would probably still recognize her.
yes. And hey, I mean, what a cool side character. I thought she was really awesome. And
Yeah.
they're talking about the swords, they're doing that whole thing. And Zoro has to pick up some new swords because Mihawk had broken his.
Okay, so all right, that I did miss that part because I was kind of wondering why. I thought Johnny and Man, I gotta remember Bruce's
Yes,
name
I
too.
think it's I'm forgetting it now too, but I think it's
Of course, I put it on
Yosaki.
the spot. Yes, that's it. Yeah. I thought they like took his swords for some reason, which I knew wasn't right, but I couldn't remember what it was. But I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, so
That was still that was a fun scene too when he was, and that's kind of when we get the rundown on the different swords, right? The supreme swords, the excellent swords, the fine grade swords, and I mean we're learning more and more about these swords, and it's very exciting.
yeah, and then you have the whole cursed blade when the
Yeah,
shop owner is like, hey, that blade is cursed, and then Zoro like tests it out and it doesn't cut off his arm, and the owner's like, okay, I
it's yours.
respect that. Yeah, yeah,
It's yours.
you can
And
have it.
hey, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry, I was trying to pull one over on you. Uh,
And then he
Actually,
gets
I had this shirt on when we went to the grocery store, and a girl had the sword like pinned it as a necklace, and I was like, "Is that Zora's sword?" She's like, "Oh my god!" So again, it's just super fun when you just wear the swag out. And I was like, "How would I have?" Like you normally wouldn't know. It just looked like a general katana, and I just was like, "Maybe I'll try this. It's a long shot, but we'll ask." And it was. It was fun.
That's awesome. I feel like
Yeah.
the community around One Piece and Berserk, people are
Yes.
so excited to one show off their fandom, but also to
Mhm.
like commune and talk about it.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I read Old Man in the Sea uh, by Hemingway, I don't think anyone gives a shit.
Why are you reading The Old Man in the Sea?
I mean, why not?
I mean, I guess.
I'm
Have
just
you not
saying
Yeah, I get
it's
you.
nice.
It's
I could
not
wear this House of the Dragon shirt, and
yeah.
then everyone's just gonna come up and be like, "Season 8 wasn't very good," and I'm like, "I get it. Like, I know, for love of
Yeah,
God's
yeah.
sake."
It is. It's
Um,
just a good conversation starter, and you're right. The community for this has been the most welcoming and fun. Even if you you stumble, you make a mistake, people are pretty cool about correcting probably because it's so freaking long and so much happens that you probably forget it. Um,
Most people are very
Most.
kind.
Yeah, there's always some that are. Dude, I
It happens.
loved Captain Smoker.
Oh, Captain Smoker is great. I did want to note the other sword that
Oh
Zoro
yeah.
ends up getting, by the way, is Yubashiri, which is the family heirloom, and like the best sword there from
Hmm.
the owner, which I think is pretty telling of what he sees in Zoro as a swords person, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
but yeah,
Absolutely.
Smoker's dope.
Oh, and then that girl too, she said like her goal was to take all of the swords from people because the men that had them or the people that had them were inherently bad people. And he even said
Mhm.
too, like, "You gonna take my sword?" She didn't even know who he was at the time too, which I thought was fun, and I was glad that they did that.
Yeah, and you know she'll find out eventually, right?
I think she
And
kind of no, she finds out towards the end, I
yeah,
believe.
she find I couldn't remember if it was after
Yeah.
this or not, so I was kind of testing the water. Yeah, yeah. So she finds out, and it's
Yes.
like this big turn, and you're like, kind of like, oh no, like Zoro almost had a friend that reminded him of his past, and it's like, oh, kind of
Yeah.
sucks. But I'm also interested to see the competition between them.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
Because even if they're gonna play with that concept that she's similar to his old training partner, I think that maybe makes a little bit more sense, especially you and I sitting here talking about it. I think
Mhm.
that makes a lot more sense to what Otis was doing and where that's gonna go, which is gonna still be fun because now you're making an opposition for almost everyone and putting them head to head with people, which I absolutely love when someone writes that. Like, here's the top dog, he fights him, tiered down to everyone each having their own nemesis. I think that makes
Oh,
for
you're
like,
gonna love this series then.
yeah,
Definitely. But also, there's a whole dynamic that Tashigi isn't even aware of. In the fact that she does remind Zoro of his childhood, and he's
yeah.
kind of like struggling with this.
Hmm.
So like there's this whole aspect of it that she doesn't really understand,
Yeah.
which is also kind of fascinating. So
And then Sanjay just, in love with any
with everyone.
woman that walks by. And he even says something about Alvita coming by and by. Which I was like, who is like, could you see her before? And kind of reminds you like that Roger Rabbit girl. And I was like,
Okay, yeah.
who is that? And that's probably why I like Sanji so much because it's the same. Uh, him, like her and Buggy come rolling up too.
Yes.
Whenever Luffy's on the executioner scaffolding, which was like, what? All that
Well,
happened so fast too. It was like a
yeah.
page, and you're like, what? Like so much action. It's just
I mean, so this is some pretty important stuff, right? Buggy
yeah,
has basically got Alvida to join his crew, which
Yeah.
means that he's kind of leveling up. Like he's building a crew, right? And he wants to go to the Grand Line. And then you're talking about Luffy being on Executioner's Block, but what is that parallel? That parallels Roger D at the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
That's the same spot.
Yeah, it is.
And Roger is smiling when it's happening.
Yeah.
And so is Luffy. Seems pretty important.
Yeah.
Pretty major, I would say.
Yeah, that's you got a point there. you might have just done did something there.
This is also where we meet Smoker, right?
Yes.
Who is supposed to be pretty hardcore, and he basically is waiting for this execution of Luffy. And the rest of the Straw Hats find out, and then they come in, and you get Zoro and Sanji going to rescue Luffy while Nami and Usopp are readying the ship to get out of there as well.
Yeah.
And Nami is detecting a storm approaching.
Yeah, the whole time, which is nice too. You have that looming badness that's coming, and also she used to fight Richie, which glad to see Richie back. And that was a fun little battle too. All of them were. And the Smoker's like, I need my as a smoke bike or something like that. He just conjures it up with a smoke. Like, oh man, so rich.
Yeah, I thought that was actually pretty cool. I mean, Smoker is definitely he's antagonizing the crew a little bit here, but you get the vibe that he's not like a straight up antagonist, right? Like he's not to the level of like an Arlong Park. This is someone who seems to be kind of in the middle of things right now. But a really cool character.
Taking advantage of the opportunity. And I find it funny too that they're all still kind of going for this map. It's like the same map. Like, how is there not more maps? I mean, I guess that's kind of the whole point of why maps are so important and why Nami is so important and why they held her captive.
Why don't they just use GPS?
Dumb. Use your iPhone.
You have devil fruit maps, bozos.
I mean, if TomTom back then, they don't have it.
That shit's ancient. It should be in there.
It should, man.
I mean, I think they're competing over the map because it's rare to get, and it's even rarer to actually get to the Grand Line, and then let alone ever come back. So, all these people are hedging their bets that they're going to be the crew that's going to be able to go to Grand Line and find the One Piece. So I think that, this is that fight over this thing, but it is fascinating that the beginning of the age of pirates, this golden age, began with Roger D up there. And then here we are some years later. Luffy has his first bounty, and he's sitting where Roger was.
We got Roger D. We got Luffy D. I don't know, man.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. We also see, like, towards the end, too, the dragon, right?
What about Dragon?
Who is the dragon? He kind of helps. He helps them get away.
Yeah. I mean, he saves his life essentially. I mean, the lightning hits Buggy's sword right whenever it's about to happen, and ends up destroying the whole platform. Frees Luffy. Luffy's good.
Yeah.
And then they all get going for the going merry. So then you have Smoker, who's like watching all this go down, is very disturbed that Luffy is laughing in the face of this execution. And that's where he puts it together like, that's pretty similar to Roger, isn't it?
Oh, see, I was too focused on the dragon part. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon is a massive thing. It's a pretty big mystery at this point, right? So who do you think Dragon is? Like, if you had to get, like, if you're making guesses.
Oh,
I can tell you this. I don't know who he is.
Man, I don't. Maybe it was a friend. Like, if you're saying, like, we're getting these parallels between Roger and Luffy, maybe it was a friend of Roger's.
Well, yeah, and we know that there's a bit of a hint in Loguetown about Roger's past too, right? Buggy's past with Roger is kind of foreshadowed here. That Buggy had been around Roger or with Roger at some point in the past, which is interesting. And we know that Buggy gets away. Buggy's going to be this person that's out there, most likely going to see him again at some point, I would imagine. Here's my theory. And again, I don't know if this is right, but this is my theory for who Dragon is. I think Dragon is Roger, And I think that he was check this out. I think he was executed, but there is some sort of devil fruit power where he could fake his death or be revived, or like the
Oh,
head fruit where he can like get rid of his head and live for a certain time.
yeah.
And I think Dragon is Roger.
No, really?
That's just my guess. And again, I have zero inkling or
Oh man, that would be epic.
like I have no more information than you at this point because
So, like,
I'm
really, what then? Like, you would say, by that logic, that the One Piece is probably somewhere in Logtown?
maybe it is.
Man, that's an interesting
Well, another
theory.
interesting thing is think about a log town, right?
Mhm.
So you think of epilogue and a prologue. So prologue beginning, epilogue at the end, and it was the end of Roger, but it was the beginning for Luffy.
Oh my god,
So
you
would it be
man,
interesting if
yeah.
that gets flipped and then we notice that Luffy comes back at the end towards Logtown and that's
Yeah.
maybe where the One Piece was all along? I don't know. I don't know where the One Piece
Oh,
is. I
man.
honestly I didn't even consider the One Piece to be honest with
Yeah,
you, but I'm just kind of spitballing with the
man.
play on words of Logtown. Uh, I don't know. I think
Epilogue,
Dragon's
man.
Roger though. That's
I
my
am just sitting
prediction.
here reeling.
I mean, I am what hundreds of chapters ahead of you. I'm about to start post Ennies tonight,
Yeah. Oh my
and
god. You're so
and
much farther
oh,
than I am.
I'm about to start like the next saga.
I'm gonna
After
just
I finish
not have
this.
to not sleep for, like, a couple weeks and just read to even
You
get
could
close
just
to
read
it.
every day and you would get there. You just can't take the time off. I mean, that's all it really is.
I could do that, or I could just not do that.
The folks would love
No,
if
I
you
would.
did vlogs.
I will start.
You
Yeah,
read, do a
okay.
vlog,
I can start doing that. That
you
would
lay off
probably yeah, I can
the
see that.
bong so you can remember things.
Nah, who wants to do that?
Now you spent some time in county, right?
Locked up.
But in
Actually, I
all
was gonna tell you,
seriousness,
like, live from,
I wasn't just bragging that I'm so far ahead of you. I'm telling you that I don't know any more than you do, and I
Okay.
am hundreds of chapters ahead of you.
Yeah.
So I'm not making that prediction with like more information.
You're
That
just
was my guess then, and it's my guess now.
okay. I like that. I'm gonna keep that in the back of my head and then still not know for a long time.
Listen, that's what you need to be doing. You need to be coming up with crackpot theories
I
because
love crackpot
one,
theories.
people love to hear them, and
Yeah,
two, I feel like this series is so ridiculous
I
that no
agree.
theories off limits.
Anything could happen. Yeah, because I mean, whenever we were doing Berserk, I had some. I mean, we both had some outlandish theories. I think yours were
The
a lot
Berserk
more accurate than
community
what
was
mine were.
not
Not here
as
for it.
welcoming as my crackpot
No.
theories. You know, I had Guts being a time traveling fetus on there
Uh-huh.
at some point, and people were like, "No." And what I will say is, it does feel like with the One Piece fandom is very like willing to just let you be wrong and not tell you. So
Mhm.
to reiterate, just for those who are commenting and watching this, don't tell us if we're wrong.
Yes.
Like that's part of the fun is finding out. We are pretty careful with the comments and not reading them all because
Mhm.
sometimes people include spoilers or they give you expectations or such. But please do not let us know if we're wrong. You can just laugh at us and tell your friends how stupid these two dudes in their midlife crisis on YouTube
Oh, I
are.
did have a question for you. Maybe I
Okay.
missed something here.
Okay.
It's not really big at all. I just was thinking about it. Why does Arlong have a winter hat on? Or is it just like just because? Did
Maybe
I miss
it's
something?
warmer down next to this. Like, I'm assuming fishmen maybe possibly live under the sea, and maybe
Like
they're near like ocean steam
colder?
vents.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Well,
really
because
hot down there.
he's got like an
I don't know.
open Hawaiian shirt, and then he has like the winter cap on. So like for me, I thought
I
it was
don't
good.
know.
I mean, all right. I'm just getting in the weeds here. I definitely thought there was gonna be snow in that part of it.
I do
So
think Oda's sense of fashion is amazing. I really
it's
enjoy
pretty
the outfits.
tremendous.
Like, it's something I've never talked about actually, but I really enjoy people's outfits in this show.
I mean, they do a good job with the
I said
fits.
show. I meant to say manga. Sorry.
Yeah, the fits are on point.
Yeah.
So
There's drip.
I find it funny too, like to see what colors he uses in the actual anime. Like the
Mm.
sea cow was green and white.
There are times where I feel like I would prefer it to be in color. I know that's not what manga is, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's such a vibrant world that I can feel through the black and white, which is
Mhm.
kind of the amazing thing about manga, right? Is
Yeah.
that you start to fill in those things subconsciously, which is pretty crazy.
It was wild.
But there are times where I'm like, man, I want to see what this looks like. And that's when I flip on the anime, which is great. I'm glad there's an anime. I'm glad it's good. With Berserk, we were up Shit's Creek without a paddle.
Yeah, there was nothing.
There's not much going on.
If we wanted to walk around on like a Sega Dreamcast game, then I guess we could have done that. But
yeah, for real though.
Yeah, but I feel like Berserk 2 was like it needed to be black and white.
I would agree with that.
Like when they had the color panels, okay, I liked some of them, like showing the fairies, that kind of stuff, but doesn't need much color. It's a dark world. This is, like you said, a vibrant, fun, colorful world. The covers, I think you get enough of and it's funny too, like if you take one of these around places, even if someone doesn't know what it is, I had multiple people be like, oh, what are you reading? Like, first off, they look at you like, oh, they let him out of the house. He's reading a child's book.
Dude, they get even better. Like,
those are awesome.
They're just packed, dude.
I don't know. Look how cool these are. These are all different.
I need to go down and just look at all the covers. There is a book where it's just art of all the covers. I bought
that one.
Oh, did you? I really want that.
I think I did. I bought some big art book that I was like, oh, I think this is gonna have spoilers in it, so I just put it on the shelf.
Yeah,
because I don't read things before I buy them. It's really bad.
Most people don't, I don't think.
Yeah,
but Loguetown, Arlong Park, great wrap up to the end of East Blue. So let's talk about some East Blue and its totality of this. Okay. Where we started with Luffy in a barrel and meeting Kobe and meeting Alvida, and then being where we are at the end, heading towards the Grand Line with the appropriate map. I mean,
we're finally going to the Grand Line. At least we're starting to.
Like, all this has happened, and you haven't even been to the Grand Line yet. You don't even know what to expect.
You've haven't even been there. Yeah. I mean, my God, it's going to be insane.
My Lanta. It is good. It is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
You should prep yourself because there's a lot more to come. There's a lot of good world building too that's on its way. But I want to know, what was your favorite arc of this saga?
Oh man, I still got to go with Baratier.
I was wondering if Baratier, because I know how much you love chefs and things like that.
I do. Just quick knee-jerk reaction, I would say that. I would say Arlong has more stuff in it, and I think it's going to be more impactful. But for me, I got to go with it. I got to go with the Baratier. Yeah.
Sanji's backstory is pretty intense.
Pretty awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And again, too, like that's another one. You go from, hey, why is he acting like this? And you find out. You get the payoff. And you have to go just enough time before you get the payoff, for me, because I'm impatient. So it is very quick, which I appreciate and love. So, I guess you get Luffy's right out the gate. We get everyone's so far, right? Yeah, everyone's backstory so far that we've met that's on the crew, which is fun. How about you? What's your favorite?
Out of them, it seems like a cop out, but it's actually Loguetown. Because it opens up so much of the world and the questions around the world. Like, you were posing questions about the government. Smoker leaves his station to follow them.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I got to do this. And Dragon, there's just so much mystery to it. But if I had to pick one that isn't just the shortest, it would be Arlong Park. The pinwheel scene, I would get that tattooed on my back, I think. Like, I love it so very much.
Oh, it is. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's really some good stuff here, man. And I will say this, it does get better. Like, One Piece gets absurdly better, but these are still great arcs. Like, they're still good. So that's something for you to look forward to. Who is your favorite character?
Someone, what's so funny? Someone literally just texted me this before. Actually, I'll say, who do you think is my favorite?
Zoro.
Even though I'm wearing the shirt.
I thought maybe you'd be repping it. I don't know. Who is it?
Man.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I love. Yeah, he's just great. How about you?
Usopp. Usopp is my favorite.
I should have known.
I love Usopp. Dude.
Of course, you like Usopp.
I'm like the one person in the world that like enjoys his introduction and Kuro and that whole thing. Like, I think
you might be.
I feel like everybody hates that arc. Like, I think a lot of people list it as their least favorite arc in One Piece, or it's up there with people's least favorite, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was fun. Now, would I feel that way now that I've read all this other great stuff? And if I came back, maybe not, but I just love Usopp. I love a good coward. And, and he's also very creative. Like, he's finding ways without being like fantastical or all that powerful to be effective still. And I just find that creativity to be really cool to read. So I like Usopp quite a bit.
Yeah. I'm curious too to see how much more fighting power that Sanji has. That's what's going to be interesting to me, because I mean he still has those kicks from Zeph, but and that whole that whole battle when he was just naming off dishes
Oh
as his
yeah.
finisher moves, like come on, how do you not love that, being like a big foodie? And to like just his like overly just like perverted, like just any girl he sees.
You like that?
I
That's
do. I think it's funny because like you got that. I just,
boys will be boys.
I mean, boys will be boys. He's just like the cool, like too cool for school guy. You know, he's the slacker, like smoking the cig. I love it. I mean, I do. I just love it.
So for Andrew to enjoy you as a character, all you need is smoke cigs and be a pervert. And then
Yeah.
so you're basically
kick,
Master Roshi.
And kick people in the face.
Yeah, you're Master Roshi from Dragon Ball.
You are. Yeah, that's fair.
You know what? Say I rep it, you know. Stand on the truth. I love it.
You like what you like, you know.
I do like that we both came out of it with different favorites. I mean, on both accounts, I think that kind of shows a little bit of the range and maybe, you know, also how incompatible we are as people. But you know,
I thought it was going to be Zoro, actually.
I love Zoro. The one thing about East Blue, and I left East Blue feeling, was that we had only scratched the surface of the abilities of Zoro and Sanji. Those were the two. I was like, okay, they seem super powerful, but we haven't seen them like go off yet. Yes. Like truly go off. So for me, I was reserved on picking Zoro because I wanted to see more from him. And also Zoro's backstory out of the ones that we get is probably my least favorite. Not that I dislike it. I still like it, but I love Nami and Sanji's. And I actually really like Usopp's as well.
Yeah.
The whole boy cried wolf gimmick, you know, that's fun. So with Zoro, I was just waiting for a little bit more in East Blue, but Alabasta is a whole nother ball game that you're about to go into.
Well,
so
I'm excited about it.
Prepare yourself.
So, could you remember back, like, to see what was your, I guess, greatest expectation and what you were looking the most forward to from the
just the Grand Line. I was literally I was like, okay, we've already seen sea cows, all this stuff, like I said before, and I think the Grand Line's supposed to be way more ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, what is this? What does that look like? What is the Grand Line? What makes it so special? How do we get there? And once we're there, like, how dangerous is this really going to be? And I can tell you from the get-go, the Grand Line, in my opinion, lives up to all of the hype.
Really?
There's some really cool stuff. There's some really weird stuff. And then there's even more foreshadowing, which I just happen to eat up. I mean, I love it.
Are you just trying to sell me so I read faster?
You should read faster. Yeah.
That is
you are going to love the entire Alabasta saga. Like
said that about every single one.
But you've read the prologue.
Yeah.
Like now you're starting One Piece. Like
okay.
And then I would argue that like it still doesn't hold a candle to what I've just read in Water 7. Like Water 7 Saga.
Oh my gosh.
Is so damn good. It's silly how good it is. Like crazy.
All right.
I say that with the utmost confidence that you'll love it all.
Oh, I mean, I have already loved it all. I would have never picked this up in a million years. There are so many other things I would have read before this.
I mean, I really thought we would cover. I thought we would cover Attack on Titan before we did One Piece, but 100%. Here we are.
I thought we'd go that Tokyo Ghoul. I mean, I thought a lot of stuff before we'd get into One Piece, but man,
yeah, we go more towards the darker stuff. But I'll tell you what, there's some heavy hitting, grim stuff that happens in One Piece as well. I'm going to be just really excited for you to experience Alabasta, because then I get to go back and look at it with the information I have now, and I just know there's stuff waiting for me. So that's what's really exciting. I'll be honest, I might even do rereads through Alabasta.
Okay.
Like if you tell me, hey, I just finished up whatever, like Little Garden, I might just read it again. I think that would be a lot of fun because I want to reread already.
Oh, I know. I mean, honestly, I want to like reread already, and I'm reading so slow.
I said that at the end of East Blue, but it is way more true once you're in Water 7 because you're like, oh my God, Oda was building stuff in the first saga. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I remember someone saying that too when we went on a live. They're like, "Oh, you haven't even seen anything yet," and it's like, okay, we're finding out that I haven't seen anything yet. So I'm very excited. So for me, one of the things I'm most excited for in this series already is the part with Shanks, because we didn't see that much of it, and for me it's left open for interpretation. Maybe that's just me being, wishful thinking to get some more action. But I'm very excited to see. Is he going to be happy Luffy's there? Is he going to be fighting for, like, trying to get the, collect his bounty, or what is Shanks going to do? I would say he's probably going to. I'm calling he's going to probably join up, but I like to play that game with myself. To see.
You're always looking for that swerve, that heel turn, as they say.
Yes.
I think I speak for everyone. I say we are also very curious what Shanks is up to. Who knows? Who knows?
Oda knows.
Oda does know. He does know.
Or maybe he doesn't.
Fair enough. It might just be that Luffy had a dream. That was it. It was
oh my God.
Dream. God, that'd be terrible, wouldn't
it? Wouldn't it? Just wakes up.
That would suck.
Still fresh stitches on his face. Like, you kidding
terrible.
me?
I would hate it so much.
I would be
Turns out Kuro actually killed everyone. Syrup Village.
So mad.
Syrup Village or Orangetown? I can't remember now. Syrup Village. Syrup Village.
I will say this too. Syrup Village is kind of when Usopp came into being a character that I can tolerate and somewhat respect, I suppose.
Hey, I mean, Usopp's great.
I suppose.
Usopp's fantastic.
Oh, he is.
I'll stand on this hill by myself. I'm fine with it.
I mean, I won't say fantastic, but I'll say I don't strongly dislike him.
You don't actively hate him. So I'll take that. I'll take that.
That's a win. I did actively hate him, and I was like, oh, man, get off the page. But now I don't.
Do you have any big predictions before we wrap this up?
I mean, I said the one about Shanks. I am curious too, because one of the last things we saw about Kobe was with Axian Morgan. So see what's going on there.
Very perceptive of you.
I am excited to also see a showdown between Kobe and Luffy, because that's inevitable.
Yeah, it feels like it's inevitable, right? That's kind of what it's building towards. And what will happen as Kobe gets muscles up, and is doing his
as to come up. Yeah, he's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's hitting that growth spurt, getting a little test, little pump in the Marines. I think he's up to good stuff, man.
Yeah, I say he's gonna get them gains.
Yeah, he's gonna hit it hard. But East Blue Saga, huge success, obviously, for Dudes Talking Manga. It rocketed me ahead, and Andrew, I think it's safe to say you enjoyed your time with it.
I did. Had a great time. It was phenomenal. Such a pleasure to read it, man.
Yeah, it's really also just fun to have this to talk about.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We can sit here and talk about our memories all day, but we're making new ones by doing this stuff, and it's very fun.
New memories in a new world.
Yep,
it's very fun.
Very good. So, folks, we appreciate you taking time to be here and to check out two dudes just talking about manga. You know what I'm saying? Right in the name. And if you like this video, we would love it if you hit like. If you dislike it, you can hit dislike. And if you love it and want to join us, I do vlogs. We're doing these long form discussions as we go through the Grand Line. Andrew's obviously a little bit further back than me. I'm about to start post Ennies. We would love to have you along for this madness. So think about subscribing. But until we see you next time, be good, be safe. And we'll see you again real soon here on Dudes Talking Manga. There.